It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendo. Yes, if you're just joining us in the month of March, we are still celebrating International Women's Month, and I'm here with Bolanle Olukoni. How are you doing?
I'm good, Ebuka. It's nice to be back here. It's been a fabulous, month, and we're celebrating it throughout the month.
Yeah.
For me, I've been enamored and just really wowed by the woman that I've met and been able to speak to, and I'm excited about the woman that I'm going to be talking to today as well.
I mean, like I said, you've been having all the fun interviewing so many amazing women. And sometimes it tends to focus a lot on the celebrities who come on, which is great.
Yeah.
But you've also had people who are just doing great stuff that may not be known. I mean, I think that's been the most fascinating part for me.
Yeah, and when we're thinking about it, these are women who are in unusual occupations and, they're doing vocations that people might not usually consider women to take on. And I feel like there's a lot more of that that's going to continue to happen.
Yeah.
It's just the time where women have to be free to be who we want to be.
Exactly.
We've had this conversation multiple times, and I really hope that people are able to take this in. The conversations that I have online sometimes, I'm like, it feels like we're still so far behind, but I'm hopeful that this kind of episodes and also these kind of conversations will inspire people to really have a change of heart.
Exactly. Well, two things. If you're just, like I said, just joining us in the month of March, you've missed out on so much. But we have some amazing guests here today. And secondly, I don't want people to think this is just for women alone, because I have watched and stood by and listened and learned so much. And I just want to find out, who do we have today that will be, probably gaining some knowledge from?
We have a nice combination. Our first guest is Ambassador Folake Marcus Bello, and she is an astute diplomat and also a politician and also a lawyer and also a journalist. And of course, we have the renowned, amazing, legendary actress Joke Silva.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Those are two Amazons. Looking forward to it.
It's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to digging in and just finding out, the ways in which their past has affected where they are now and the legacies that they're leaving behind.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Bolanle will be having a conversation with these amazing women. Don't go away.
Wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show and prove.
International relations, law, mobilization of women, and a very long time ago, journalism. These are the forte of Ambassador Folake Marcus Bello. She served as the ambassador of Nigeria to Zambia and Malawi. She was also the commissioner for Women Affairs, Ogun State, and she still finds time to do her legal work at Folake Bello & Co. Ambassador Folake Marcus Bello is a mobilizer and a woman who doesn't settle. On Rubbing Minds, we speak on the power of being a woman in politics, the hurdles and the wins, and we celebrate a phenomenal woman. My name is Bolanle Olukoni, and Lipton is raising a mug to Ambassador Folake Marcus Bello. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for taking time to sit down with me and have this conversation. I'm excited because I know it's going to be a sisterly chat. Before we started, she said I can refer to her as FMB. And I want to go back and start from, the early journeys. You went to University of Ibadan.
Great UI.
And I'm an Ibadan person at heart. But there was something interesting when we were talking earlier that you mentioned. Talk to us a little bit about, being elected as the first female vice president for the student union. What was that experience like for you?
Well, it wasn't really planned. The boys sought me out. And those were the good old days when you didn't need to worry about where you came from or who you were.
Yeah.
Then I was tomboyish, and I used to wear trousers all the time. So I was invited by the boys. But I actually wanted to be the president of the Students' Union. But I had about 14 other contestants. And I remember and recall that about 3 of them came to me to say, look, you can't win as the president because people were not ready for a female president.
Right.
But we think, why don't you just step down and then we'll team up with you. And at the end of the day, I had all 14 of them campaigning for me to be vice president. So it was really nice. But there's something you need to know which have taken with me and which is like one of the most interesting parts of the campaign. When we got to a famous hall in UI called Zik Hall,
Okay.
and we used to call them Zooites, and then they said, stand on the table. And if you're familiar with UI, our problem then was water.
Okay.
So I stood on the table, and all of a sudden, the men wanted to intimidate me, and they started to pour buckets of water buckets. They must have poured about 30 buckets of water on me to say, go away, we don't want a woman, go away. But I stood there and I said to them, thank you for baptizing me and accepting me. And then they all turned around to say, oh, you have won, you know, students. So it's an interesting journey.
Well, I'm curious to find out, here you are, you're the first female vice president, for the student union, and you talked a little bit about gender, and this International Women's Day, this theme is choose to challenge. What would you say your experience as a woman, when you're thinking about in the 80s in Nigeria, how much did gender affect and play into your experiences?
Well, now you're lucky. Your generation is lucky.
Yeah.
Women can come out and be whoever they want to be. In my generation in the 80s, you still had to have a certain standard of behavior as is expected of a woman. So some of us who were tomboys, we were not really accepted by some. You couldn't take us home, not as in relationships, but even as in friendship with other girls. We were not girly. Do you know what I mean?
I understand.
So now it doesn't matter who you are. So I think that's a plus for your generation.
Right.
In my generation, we were the link between the old ones when women were really prim and proper.
Yes.
So we started out taking off this prim and proper attitude.
Right.
Do you know? So it wasn't very interesting. It was interesting for me because I grew up with boys.
Yes.
So I didn't actually see gender, and I still don't see gender.
Right.
I believe that a woman can be everything she wants to be.
Right.
Just like you said, you just need to believe in yourself, and you need to challenge yourself, and you mustn't give up. All other things will be added onto you. Don't think because you want to hide from being a woman, you want to be prim and proper, that's what's going to bring you a home, that's what's going to bring you children, that's what's going to impress on other people. Just be who you are. I'm a Christian and I believe that some things have been destined.
Right.
So if you're destined to marry, it will come. If you're destined to be great, it will come.
Right.
Just challenge yourself. Be who you are.
It's interesting because I can see that in so many ways you had a different kind of experience as a young woman being an only girl in the whole family. And that theme continued in your life. I want to talk a little bit about your career as a journalist.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting because when I was, doing my research on you, I can see that you really chose to not stick in one box and to stay in one career path. Talk to us a little bit about your time at Vanguard newspaper and how, being an administrator there, how that affected your future.
Well, let me take it from round the back.
Yeah.
I have been in careers where I'm the only woman.
Yeah.
So I believe that something is working. In journalism, we were not addressed as women. Journalists are journalists, you know what I mean? There's no differentiation between men and women. In law, there's no differentiation. In everything I've done, I've just been blessed to be in positions of leadership.
Yeah.
And it's always been a girl among the boys. Even when we were campaigning, at grassroots level, I was the girl among the boys.
Do you feel like, you were an anomaly in your time? I know that a lot of women were doing both, and the narrative that most women were stay-at-home moms is not true. But do you feel like other women sometimes looked at you and said, why are you so career focused? Did that narrative ever come about?
Well, a lot of women who know me actually just see me as the woman to put in front, the woman to challenge. If it is something women cannot do, let's get Folake to do it.
Right.
And because of that, I actually, when I left, they said I shouldn't say the word left. When I moved away from politics, a lot of women are still looking for me. I have a lot of people who still say, why are you hiding? Get younger people to come, challenge them, get them focused, get this action going. So I guess if you have it in you, you have it in you. But the message, especially to the young people, is you mustn't hide it. You ask the question now that, did I feel out of place? Not for one moment.
We are not done yet. Rubbing Mind continues right after this. We'll be right back.
This is a Rubbing Minds special for International Women's Month, powered by Lipton.
Wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show and prove.
It's interesting. I come from a family of all girls.
Yes.
And I have to say, I've had to learn how to be in rooms where I'm the only woman and I'm not aware of my gender, you know, because I don't naturally know how to relate to men, you know, and my dad is my dad is like the softest guy ever. So I find that a lot of times I'm very aware of my gender. When you were in politics, you know, you were in Women Affairs for Ogun State, the commissioner. I want to talk to how was that experience like for you? And did you feel like you had to play the game the way the men were playing the game?
That's not the interesting part. Being the commissioner is the end of it. That's the icing on the cake.
Okay.
The most interesting part is actually taking part in campaigns. Do you know? And if you get pushed into politics as a technocrat, that's a different line.
Okay.
I say that you must get involved with campaigns.
The grassroots.
The grassroots.
Right.
You get to meet all sorts of people, you get to love people, you've got to hate them, you get to learn. You then become like streetwise.
Right.
But the most important part is not being commissioner. The most important part is actually affecting lives as you go. You know, you suddenly discover that it's not the big things that really make people happy. You meet people that you gave a clipper to that, look, if you're crying for school fees, go and learn how to cut the hair and look after your friends. So that's more important. You know, we shouldn't wait for the big things. What can we do to affect each other? What can we do to help each other? I'm looking at your strength. Can I develop your strength? I'm looking at your weakness and I'm encouraging you, don't go that route. For me, I have a policy and it has helped me a great deal. It's gotten me into trouble, but hey, that's me. I don't see men and women.
Okay.
I just see people.
You just see people. Now, how do you react when you meet people who see women? You know, men who see you as a woman and say, as a woman, this is who you should be, this is how you should be. I expect you, okay, yeah, you're a politician, but deal with the issues that affect women. How do you react to that?
That's their own definition of who they think I am.
Right.
I know who I am,
Right.
and I've remained who I am. Look, when we go into universities, they don't write a different exam for men, and they don't write a different exam for
Very
women.
true.
Whatever it is, you are measured as to your intelligence. So why then do women now begin to accept the fact that there must be a distinction between a man and a woman?
Okay.
I know that because, I don't want to use the word timid, because women have been brought up to believe that you're a woman and so you are defined.
Right.
I want to challenge the women. Let's go easy on this gender thing.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Let's say we are here.
Okay.
You got a 2-1, I got a 2-1.
Yeah.
You got a first class, I got a first class. Nobody looks, the only difference are the physiologies.
Right.
Nobody looks at my paper to say, oh, she's a woman, so she's supposed to get 10, let me give her 12. So in politics, let the women come out and say, here we are. Don't wait for, oh, APC will give women 20%, PDP will now give women, they can buy the form free of charge. Let's come together and find a way of raising our own money, raising the women that we believe in, look around for the women and bring them out to prove that we can challenge ourselves.
Right.
Do you know, unfortunately, the economy of the country rests on men.
Yes.
But we can do it. We can be creative. We can create styles.
So in your opinion, you believe that when we use and we say, you know, as women, we should give them a certain percent of the seat of the house, that's actually a detriment to the cause of advancing women to be in politics more?
I believe so.
Okay.
I stand to be challenged, but I
Right.
believe so. It could be a starting point, but let's just look at what I've said. In all other spheres of life, if you go to work for a corporation, they're not going to say, oh, because she's a woman, let's give her 2 notches up. No, they're going to deal with you as your capacity. If you're an engineer, you're a doctor. So why should we say in politics, we should tell the women, sit back, when the form comes for women, we all should come together, find ourselves, and then fight ourselves in. Do you know, this 50-50, 30-50, perhaps there are more women who are even better than the 30%.
So why do you think that women are still hesitant in entering politics?
It's tough.
Or is it a myth?
It's tough.
Is it tough for women or is it tough for everyone?
Tough for everyone, tougher for a woman.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Women who are in politics are still labeled.
Yes.
You've got to have the skin of an elephant. You've got to have your very thick skin. You've got to have a strong man who supports you.
Definitely.
Because the meetings are nocturnal, the meetings are early in the morning, the meetings are this and the meetings are that. In the middle of the night, you can get called up. There could be issues for you to, your life is on a roller coaster when you get in to be a politician.
Right.
I've had situations when we were campaigning that I will wake up in, say, Lagos and sleep at the waterside. I've had occasion where the men would give me their agbada to sleep in, because I wasn't prepared that we were going to sleep there, and so I didn't have no clothes to sleep in. So they will give me their agbada to sleep in. So it's tough, but very interesting. You have to be determined, and you have to have the support. Because at the end of the day, you're a woman, the continuity of life still depends on you.
Right.
What does that mean? You're going to have children.
Yes.
Most women, not every woman, but most women want to have children. Most women do have children. So you have to be like an octopus. You have to plan your life. You have to know how to navigate. So it's tougher on us. And of course the stories. Oh, you have to be a witch. You have to be heartless. You have to be sleeping around.
Yeah.
In our time, it was bottom power.
Okay.
You had to have bottom power. Oh, she's rising because she sleeps around. She's rising because she's dating so and so.
I mean, the narrative hasn't changed, unfortunately.
It's
getting better.
It's better because now the women can stand up to whoever.
Right.
I don't believe in pull her down syndrome. I don't believe that it's other women stopping me. I believe if I don't get challenged, if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, it's my headache.
You talked about how gender is not in your viewpoint and it's just not how you approach anything in life. And you were the Nigerian ambassador to Zambia and Malawi. So tell us how that experience, was like and what you really learned from it.
Let me tell you, when you're in a leadership position of any sort, don't even consider gender. Okay? If you're an ambassador, you are the president of your country in another country, you are just there to represent your country, shoulder high, strong. You have to dress up as a woman, but get that out of your head. And the most beautiful aspect of that is that if you have, whether you have a spouse or you don't have a spouse, the diplomatic world is clearly defined.
Yes.
There are official outings and there are outings that are unofficial.
Yes.
So when it is official outing, is neck to neck, eyeball to eyeball with the men. Nobody remembers
straightforward thinking.
Straightforward thinking.
Yes.
When it is time to socialize, and then you step down a little, if you have a spouse, you defer to him, but everybody around you knows that that is social.
Yes.
But when you have to defend your country, or you have to speak up for your country, or you have to look after your people, you don't remember that you're a woman. You just got to do what you got to do. And that's the way it should be, really. If I believe that Nigeria will be better when women come into power, not as women, but as, don't let's go there.
This is, I wish we had more time because what you're saying is very contrary to the narrative that's going around. And I say that because when I think about, the Prime Minister for New Zealand, she recently just passed a law where sanitary towels, tampons, they're going to be free in school. And they basically say to end period poverty because a lot of people, it's expensive. Feminine products are more expensive than they should be considering the fact that...
And it's monthly.
It's monthly. Every month, I bleed. Sorry.
We bleed.
We bleed as women. And people say that that law was passed because she is a woman. She has the empathy to be able to see that this is an issue where legally this thing should be free. To me, that's very opposite of what you're saying. Do you think that, being a woman has helped New Zealand positively in terms of even the fact that they were the first country to not have COVID anymore? And people kept saying it's because she's a woman and she led.
Of course.
Okay.
Women are better managers, and I'll tell you the secret. Since the time we're born, we went with our parents to the market.
Right.
Even now, I know everybody's on the internet. As a woman, you've been wired to think of managing whatever it is you have.
Right.
So women are better managers. I don't have an apology for that.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that we should not now say this is a woman and that's a man. But in our head, let that stop at our body.
I understand.
In our head, we are equal. And so we should look them in the eye, defer when it is home matters, social matters,
Right.
defer, a man is the head of the household and all of that. But when we get to where we need to discuss policies and get things done and move this country forward, we should sit eyeball to eyeball.
Okay.
And I hope more women on account of this will come out to sit eyeball to eyeball with the men.
I understand. We're running out of time, but I know I want us to talk a little bit about the work that you're doing with when it comes to foundation and also leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
When you think about your legacy, what kind of legacy are you hoping that people will remember you for?
Well, we're working on one now. We have a group called We the Women, just for the name.
Right.
And what we want to do is to get everybody to register and vote. I don't care whether you are this party or that party, you are this or you are that. For now, everybody must register to move this country forward.
Yes.
I'm not talking restructuring, we're not talking ethnicity. If we don't register to vote, we can't move it forward.
Right, right.
We shouldn't worry about whether you're going to be cheated or you're not going to be cheated. And just you register to vote.
Before we wrap up, there's one last question I have for you. You know, FMB, this theme for International Women's Month, Women's Day is I choose to challenge. And the question is, what are you choosing to challenge?
I choose to challenge the whole of the country, people who are going to be 18 in 2023, to register and to vote.
Right.
That's my own challenge.
Okay.
You must register and you must vote. Of course, I look forward to many more women coming out to join the train. I'm willing to do anything that is humanly possible within my capacity to support women to come out to be nominated.
Yeah, yeah.
They shouldn't be discouraged.
Yeah, I completely second that. Thank you so much for the legacy that you've left behind and you're leaving behind, and also for just being so open and generous with your time as well. Thank you for this.
Thank you very much.
All right, that is Ambassador Folake Marcus Bello, and we have to say a huge thank you, sir, for joining us on the show. We are not done yet. Rubbing Mind continues right after this. We'll be right back.
This is a Rubbing Minds special for International Women's Month, powered by Lipton. The achievements of Queen Amina of Zaria are so unreal that they are often regarded as folktales. However, in 1576, Amina ascended to the position of queen. Amina waged a 34-year campaign against her neighbors meant to expand Zazau territory. Her army consisted of 20,000 foot soldiers and 1,000 cavalry troops. Amina was a warrior queen that kept expanding her region of what is now known as Kaduna. She was revered for her strategy and military prowess, and her work and exploits, however obscure, are still a source of inspiration to women and girls for how they can rise up the ranks even in a patriarchal society.
The Nigerian film industry is approaching its 30th year, and some of its finest talents have transcended the different generations of this multi-billion naira industry. Joke Silva is an actor, producer, director, and businesswoman. She started her acting career in the early 90s and has won numerous awards, sat on different panels, taught many classes, and she's still doing the work, entertaining millions of Nigerians and non-Nigerians, and being a template for many actors in Nollywood. My name is Bolanle Olukoni, and on this International Women's Month special, I'm joined by the amazing and ever so gracious Joke Silva. Welcome, the Joke Silva.
Hello, Bolanle.
You know, Auntie, I'm going to call her Auntie on camera because that's what you are to me. You know, I've had the opportunity to work with you on Project Fame, and you were such a great mentor. And that was one of my first TV gigs, and you would always look at me reassuring, like, you got this, because I was terrified.
I remember.
It's so good to have you on here. You look stunning as usual.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to talk about the industry because you've been such a legend in this space, and you know, you've evolved so much. And My question though is, in your opinion, do you feel like the industry has done a lot of evolution? Yes, we're moving to cinema and we have different genres, but what's your take on the evolution of the industry?
I think in some areas the industry has evolved and evolved forwards, and in some areas it's evolved backwards. Yes, honestly, in the sense that, you know, when we're saying evolved forwards, one, there's just so much more work now than the time when I started, or even those who were before me when they started. You know, so there's definitely more work now, and it's nice that the cinemas are coming back, you know, and we're getting even more proliferation of cinemas, and hopefully by the time the pandemic is over, like I keep telling people, the human being is built for community. Yes. And so whether we like it or not, once the pandemic is in check, we will get back to community, and so we can have more cinemas. But now, where are we evolving backwards? For me, I think it's in the storytelling.
Okay.
I think that the storytelling is because we're so focused on returns on investment, we're insisting that, these are the only films that do well in cinemas, you know. For example, now, to get any kind of collaborative work with some of the gatekeepers, they'll insist on comedy. Now, what if you're not a writer of comedy, but you're a writer of really strong stories? Right. Like Kemi Adetiba's King of Boys. I mean, where's the comedy in that? But it was brilliant. Right. And it made the money, and it not only was there return on investments, there was a huge return on investments, okay? So in that way, and we, you know, in the early days, we were telling really good, strong stories, and stories that were giving us an idea of where we needed to go. So I think in that area, and also my pet peeve, the area of budgeting.
Now, who do you think is the cause of that? Because I understand what you mean when you say, you know, the area of budgeting, where you go on a set and the producer, and it's a producer's job to always say, there's no budget. But do you feel like it's because of the fear of lack of return on investment, or is it a cultural thing where we still expect talent, crew, everyone to make, you know, the meager returns, and rather to be paid and compensated with such little sums? It's from what I would call the new gatekeepers. And a lot of the new gatekeepers don't understand how the industry has evolved to where it is now. If you go back to the times of the Ogun days, right, the traveling theater, what they did was that they went for all the jobs, and it was a collective. Everybody shared what was made. Do you understand? Now, what people tend not to realize is that the most important people on any movie set, the cameraman and the actor. Without those two, you have nothing. Right. Do you understand? And so the other industries, the other influential industries in the world, whether it's Bollywood or Hollywood, they understand the necessity for the actor, and that is why they are so well compensated. Without them, you cannot get your audience. And so you need to compensate them very well so that they bring their best to the fore. For now, we will not have that Oscar film until we get, you know, the right story. That's also in the right story, the right actors, and you know, and to get actors who will give that kind of Oscar-worthy performance, they need to be able to immerse. If they can, and they can only immerse if they are comfortable. Right. So I want to find out. You've talked about gatekeepers. You mentioned that. Who are these gatekeepers? Are you talking about
I'm not going there.
No, not
on
the
air.
specific names, but are you talking about distributors, or are you talking about, the people that sponsor the films?
You
What
see,
category?
sometimes you're talking about distributors, and then you are talking about distributors who are also producers, who are also, there's almost a clash. What's the word now? America has a word for it, where there's, I've forgotten now. It seems. There seems to be such total control, too much control. The word will come to me, and so you have to break it up. It was a time there was a time when the Big Seven owned all the theaters in America, owned all the production companies. They had to break it up, otherwise the industry wasn't going to move. Yes.
And you've talked a lot about storytelling, and
Yes.
also I want to talk a little bit about typecasting and also the portrayal of women in film and in our industry. In your opinion, and before this we were talking a little bit about fashion and style, and I'm talking about my dress. Does this designer have non-form fitting clothing?
Yes.
In your opinion, how is the portrayal of women in the industry and Nigerian films right now affected our idea of what it means to be a woman? Do you think that there's some room for growth in that?
Yes, I do believe there's a lot of room for growth. One is the fact that, there's this stereotyping of women. We are either witches, whores, saints, or sinners.
Right.
The eternal wicked mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not the reality. And women are a totality of, they can be exceptionally good, but they are also flawed. So don't give us a standard that is impossible to reach. Do you understand? And don't tell us that we are the pits, and so you need to cage us and watch us because we are capable of flying in the night and doing all. Do you understand? Then in this portrayal of the woman, the ideal woman to be, flat stomach, did everything nice and tight and all that, and I believe the women's movement has gone beyond that. The women's movement, we whatever form, whatever shape you are, is an ideal shape. Do you understand? Is an ideal shape for you. Be fit. That's the important thing. Be comfortable in your body. Appreciate who you are, and be
Small sense.
Yes. Do you understand? Have that, because I believe when we portray our women like that, then for the girl child, it's attainable. And once it's attainable, then she can fly. Do you understand? Yes.
We are not done yet. Rubbing Mind continues right after this. We'll be right back.
This is a Rubbing Minds special for International Women's Month, powered by Lipton.
Wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show and prove.
You just mentioned the girl child, and you've done a lot of work when it comes to advocating for the girl child. But I want to talk a little bit about the I'm Priceless campaign and why it was important for you to lend your voice to that.
Okay. Several years ago, I read the story of a young man who had been taken, who had, just wanting to get out of this country at all costs, took the Libyan route through one of our states, our northern states, and took the Libyan route. And it was a real life story. And he was lucky to come back but what he said is what happened on that journey, what happened to the women on that journey who tried to, they were trafficked, all right? They were harvested, their organs were harvested. They were turned into sex slaves. Some of them were turned into sex slaves. I mean, it was just, I mean, some of them never even got as far as Libya like he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he at the end of the journey, he called home and said, I just want to come back home.
Right.
Do you understand? And it then coincided with the time when the UNODC invited me that, you know, they wanted to, they were looking for ambassadors on human trafficking, especially women. And I had already read that story, so I was ready. Right. I said, yes, I really want to be part of it. I want to lend whatever fame, influence one has to that cause. The trafficking doesn't only go, it's not only outside of the country, it's also within. I'd also had the experience with my church where we were working with women too who had been trafficked. Do you understand? And you know, this belief that women are objects, the girl child is an object, that, you know, that not only is she an object, she's also objectified, and so she's easy prey.
Right.
So it was just all that one wanted to work with that. And a lovely girl, she died in a terrible motor accident. She was behind the I Am Priceless campaign.
Yeah.
She was on the Blue Heart campaign. And I think what was beautiful about the I Am Priceless campaign is that it's even the phrasing of it, I am priceless. Getting that message across to young girls, to young women. You are priceless. If you think of yourself as priceless, there's, you know, there's a pushback from you when you are being objectified. Do you understand that? You know, so that, you know, that was the thinking behind the.
You know, and see, I know that you're very passionate about different causes, and also you've talked a lot about the way gender is portrayed in films. Does this now affect the kind of roles that you pick and choose? And do you find that, you know, this perspective that you have, you can contribute it on a set and say, is there a way we can adjust the portrayal of women? And do you find people are receptive if you do that?
Yes, they are receptive, but usually, there are several questions rolled in one.
Right.
What you're asking. Now, do I pick and choose? Sometimes. When I'm not broke.
I love the honesty.
When I'm not broke, you do understand. When I'm not broke, I pick and choose. Yeah. But when of course, but you see, sometimes even those scripts that come when I'm broke, and I do it, I pray. I say, God, he mustn't see the light of day. So naughty of me. The late Amaka and myself, we used to laugh so much about that, and sometimes he doesn't see the light. You know, but you know, so but yes, I look for, I try to look for films that show women as strong, but also slightly flawed. You know, and but their strength overrides the flaws. Okay. Yes, you know, so that there's there's a sense of there's a hero. We can, or, you know, because it's important for us to have heroes.
Right.
Now, sometimes where I see that there's a way we can adjust this script, what I always try and make sure of, or try to find, is a solution. So if I say that this character is not working because, I must come up with it. I'm not just going to say, oh no, this isn't working and I'm not going to do it. No, I must come up with a solution so that we can, you know, we can work out, and it works with the entire story. Right. It's understanding what does the writer want to achieve with this story, and then come up with a solution that also serves his story. Yes, or her story.
And you know, I feel like also it might be they'll be a bit more receptive coming from you because they know that you're a veteran and you've been part of so many productions that have been successful. That they say, well, if Anjoka says, let's go with that. You know, and I think that that's important, and I commend you for doing that on set.
Thank you.
I want to talk about, you know, the gatekeepers, but even more the ability for women to rise in this industry. It's exciting times. You know, we're seeing so many, all of the highest budgeting films, they are female directors.
Exactly.
So there's something
They
there.
prove the point.
There's
No,
something
but
there.
you know, they just prove the point. If you want to do something well, there's a saying that we have in Yoruba, "Obe to dun, owo lo pa." Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, and you know, the women who have risen to the top in this, and who are, you know, the movers and shakers in this industry, they know that, and so they go after, make sure that they get the kind of budget that makes it easier for them to achieve what they want to achieve. Yes,
Right.
definitely.
Now, I want to talk about perceptions.
Okay.
The perceptions of women, especially for the industry, the actors
Yes.
and actresses face,
Yes.
where there's a lot of idea that there's a lot of sleeping their way to the top. How do you think that can be evolved, that perception can grow and change, where people are like, I'm an actress, and it's seen as something that's more respectable? Because I find that narrative is still being heavily flogged. And I don't think people realize that a lot of actors do have great opportunities and are making some sort of incomes that allow them to live the lifestyles that they're living.
Well, I think one of the ways, there are many ways, there are myriad ways in which we can fight that narrative. One of it is tell stories of women who have achieved, you know, just put out stories out there of women who have achieved without sleeping with every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Right.
That's number one. Number two is is also when women see those stories, they should push back on those stories. Don't allow those stories to settle, you know. I think there was a young man at one point who came out with these stories about this person can't do this because they are doing that. That person, I pushed back. I said, excuse me, who knows where so and this other person got their money from?
Right.
That's not. What is the story? What is this person doing? What has this person achieved?
Yeah. Thank you for that. So there you have it. As Joka has said, it's possible. No, and it's very important that narrative is exhausting. It's an exhausting narrative. You know, the theme for International Women's Month is
Yes.
choose to challenge. I want to find out from you, you know, when you hear that, what does that mean to you, and what are you choosing to challenge?
I choose to challenge so many things. I don't know which one I'm going to pick. I think we've spoken about some of them.
Yeah.
You know, changing the narrative that a woman cannot get to any position without having slept her way to the top and still, you know, sleeping her way around. I think I choose to challenge the fact that, you know, meritocracy, you know, that women do get to the positions where they get to through merit, a lot of them, you know. I choose to challenge that, and I also choose to challenge the stigma against mental health. Yes, for me that's very close to my heart. Yes, that stigma against.
Is there a specific incident or an experience that, you know, has made you kind of come to that?
Well, there are quite a few people that I love who are going through that challenge,
Right.
And you know, it's not easy. It's not easy, you know, for them, and neither is it easy for their caregivers, you know, and in a society that doesn't allow them to be free. Do you understand? When I'm talking about free, just allow them to be amongst you, knowing that they have that challenge, but don't make a song and dance about it. Do you understand?
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. Auntie Joka, thank you so much. This has
Thank you.
been so insightful, and you know, thank you for the legacy that you're living, and just for
Amen.
being yourself. Your essence is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much, Walale. That was fun. Thank you.
This has been a wonderful conversation with the Joka Silva. Don't go anywhere. Rubbin Minds will be right back.
This is a Rubbing Minds special for International Women's Month, powered by Lipton. Late Mrs. Dora Kinyele, born in Makadi, Benue State, she came to the forefront of the drug counterfeiters when she headed the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. Her work had such a tremendous impact that she quickly became the Nigerian Minister of Information and Communications from 2008 to 2010. She died on the 7th of June 2014, but her work and impact are things we will never forget.
Lipton is raising a mug to Kewe Alajagbo, the lady cobbler.
Hi, Kewe. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
I love your outfit. It says Lady Cobbler Lagos. You know, you are a cobbler, and most cobblers, they tend to be men. So talk to us a little bit about how you ventured into this industry and what your experience has been like.
Okay, I ventured into it because I have a very big feet. Okay, so most times I happen to get the ugliest shoes on the shelf, and then I got admission into the university, and then it was like when my mates are looking nice and going to classes, well, I have to always wear slippers and all that. So the bit to want to get fine shoes and also fitting in school back then made me contact a cobbler. But most times, when it's to make my shoes, maybe because I'm not always around, you would always have to wait till the day I want to use it, or like I'm going to classes, or can I have my sandal or my slippers? And he's like, wait, I'll make it. And then I sat down with him and I saw the way he was doing it, and then I was like, I'm the kind of person that I always like to do things myself. And I was like, okay, if this is what he does, and then like if it's a slipper, like in 2 to 3 hours it's done. Though he will require help from his colleagues, and then like 2 to 3 hours is done, and then I wait, and then everybody's commending it, and it's like, it's nice, you look good, and then I'm now like, oh, finally I can now fit into those that have that would go out, and then somebody will say your footwear is nice, and all that. And so that was how it all started. Yeah,
and what's your experience been like, you know, being a woman in a male-dominated industry? You know, has it been a challenging experience for you?
Yes, because everybody's always asking if I can. They feel because I'm a lady or female, I can't.
Right.
And then competence is always the question. Can you do it? Are you sure you can do it? Are you sure you'll be able to do it? And then I having to convince them. I'm always convincing. Like initially when I started, I've been convincing. In the middle, I'm still convincing, and I'm sure I'll still have to keep convincing people, because it still seems like it's not somebody that's always expecting to show forth. When I show forth and I'm like, okay, I'm the one to do the job. And they're like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Can you pull this through? Will you be able to do it? That's the main challenge, which is competence. Everybody feels because I'm a lady, I won't be able to do it.
Right.
Or I'm not fit to do it.
That's a shame, honestly, because we're in 2021,
Like,
and you know, you'd kind of think that people would get with the program. But in terms of, you know, your experience with colleagues who are also cobblers, have they been, you know, forthcoming with giving you guidance and training when you first started?
Initially, when I started, most of them don't always want to. They always prefer you give them the job to do.
Okay.
And they do it for you.
Do you think that's because you're a woman, or do you think that's just as part of protecting my business?
And that's because I'm a woman. They feel I should not get to know all the acts and how to do the job quickly. So they feel just since you're a lady, they will easily give you the job, bring the job and let us do it for you. So, and that was the reason why they wouldn't want to show you the faster ways or better ways to doing this thing. They just want you that, don't worry, I'll do it for you, but with a price.
Right. Now, in terms of, you know, your experience and craftsmanships, where do you get a lot of your inspiration from when it comes to making shoes?
I get my inspiration basically from the charisma, the kind of charisma I want somebody to have, like, you know, like a lawyer walks in or a doctor walks in, and then is working gallantly in the shoes that I've made. You know, it kind of makes me very, it kind of gives me the power to want to do more, because, okay, now I can dress a doctor, like a lawyer will be wanting to go to court on Monday, and he will want to be working in my shoes. So even when I'm tired and I don't want to work, that just gives me the inspiration that, oh, somebody needs to report on Monday, or somebody's going for a meeting, or somebody's like, you have to bring my shoes to the airport, I'm traveling to America, and that's the shoe I want to wear. So you see, all of the jobs attached to, or the people that I work with are the ones that give me inspiration, because basically I felt it was just going to be repair shoes and just make slippers for just casual use. But now the game has changed. It's more like, okay, I'm having an event, I have a show, it's my wedding, I have a presentation on Monday, and I want to appear cool, and I need you to do something. Can we just do something nice? And then it gives me the inspiration to want to work more.
What was your family's reaction when you told them that this is something that you wanted to continue and, you know, take on as a full-time career?
Initially, when I started, my parents, they were not cool. My dad was like, so you mean you went to Unilag, you read marine biology, and then you want to start making shoes. You'll have just told me initially, so we won't have bothered. We'll have just taken you from secondary school to
Apprenticeship.
to apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And then you'll have just continued. Why the stress? Because I worked also immediately after school with a diagnostics firm and some other firms like that. So when I decided that I wanted to go into shoemaking and shoe designing, it was like, no, he's not going to accept that. And then it was more like, he has gotten me a job.
Yeah.
I'm starting on Monday, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll be making my shoes. And it didn't go down well with him, but my mom, any which way, she supports.
Yeah.
As far as it makes you happy.
Yeah.
she's
And
down.
has he finally come around?
Yes, he has.
Wonderful.
He has, because most times when I make footwear for him, and they're like, he has a big feet. I think I took it after him.
Yeah.
And then it's more like, I make more of like nice footwears, and then he's like, my daughter actually made it. And I'm like, okay.
That's brilliant. You know, I have to say congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
You actually do make beautiful shoes, and
Thank you.
hopefully, my feet aren't big, but they're like really narrow and skinny. And
Okay.
enough about my feet, Jerry. Anyways, before we wrap up, what are you choosing to challenge? The theme for this month is Choose to Challenge for International Women's Month. What are you choosing to challenge?
Okay, I'm challenging the government. I want the government. Nigeria is more like a classic country, but the government are giving pro-max laws. So I think the government should give us classy laws that would work for our kind of economy, our kind of people, our kind of startups, our kind of businesses, our kind of graduates, because it's more like the government or the country is asking too much from its people. So I think the government, I'm challenging the government to please give us classy laws, affordable, or how do I put it now, laws that we will be able to follow. Because we know that they're not giving us everything that is meant. They're not making all the necessary available, but they are wanting us to be the perfect citizens, which doesn't
make
really
any
work.
sense. Yeah.
So
Thank you so much for that, Kara. Wonderful having you on
Thank you.
this special edition of Rubbing Minds. Ebuka is going to be with us right after this. We'll be right back.
This is a Rubbing Minds special for International Women's Month, powered by Lipton.
Wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show and prove.
All right, amazing stuff, Bolanle. How did you enjoy today's show?
I had a fantastic time. I was really enamored also by my interview with the lady cobbler, which we just finished. Come
Because
on.
people always think cobbler and think of a man.
Yeah.
And, you always have those stereotypes with what a woman shouldn't be doing or can't be doing. And I think that just stood out for me. And she's been around for quite a bit.
She has.
Yeah.
She's been around, and she's really made a name for herself, and just the tenacity and the resilience, not getting support from her family, but now the pride in which her father says, that's my daughter, and she, makes shoes. Those are the kind of stories that I want to hear. I want to hear that women are breaking barriers and redefining what it means to take up space. So I'm really thankful that we were able to do those interviews, and I learned a lot. And I'm always glad to be here. Thank you, Ebuka, for giving me this space to do this.
Thanks for doing great with it as well. And of course, thanks to Lipton for being a part of this. And we're going to continue this conversation as we go along, even after International Women's Month, because women are going to be a part of our conversation, as they always have been on Rubbin Minds. Don't go away. Stay with us, and I'll see you next Sunday.
It's all on you.